Got really quiet really quick there. And fade out the music. Oh, there's two of these. Well, good morning, everyone. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Chris Sullivan. I'm responsible for our worldwide system integrator and some people taking pictures already. And strategic alliance businesses at AWS. We really appreciate your time as we start off reInvent, so thank you for being here. We're going to spend time today talking pretty extensively about co-selling for SIs with AWS. So there's a lot in the material today. There's best practices. We're going to go through, there we go. We're going to go through an overview, so talk a little bit about why co-selling is important to AWS and how we approach that. We're going to talk about some best practices. So we've got 6 best practices that I'll unpack a little bit to provide more color and context. We'll have a fireside chat, so I'll be joined by Amanda Slight, who leads the UK SMB team, a very, very close friend of mine and wonderful speaker. You'll enjoy hearing from her. We'll also see a video from one of our top SI partners, Slalom, and we have the privilege to be visited by Brooks Borcherding, who is the CEO of CloudReach. So Brooks is here and will spend time with us today. So we'll have a great opportunity to hear from one of our most successful co-selling partners on some of the best practices and things that they do in order to drive their business with us. We'll talk about programs and resources, and then of course, as with anything within the Amazon family, we'll talk about actions and next steps, things that we can do collectively to improve our partnership and the way that we work together. So excited to be your host this morning. I am a little bit concerned about the power of these lights. I have an Irish complexion, and so I did not bring sunblock, so hopefully by the end of this I'm not beet red for the next 4 days, but these are some powerful lights. I think we'll have time at the end of the presentation to do a little bit of Q&A, and if we don't, myself, Amanda, Brooks, and some other team members of mine that are here will be available to take questions afterwards, but hopefully we'll have a chance to do that live before the end of the hour. So let's jump in. So first, talking about co-sell and partnerships, it's in our DNA, right? Our most senior executives, this is a quote from Andy Jassy when he was at the time the CEO of AWS. Obviously now he's the CEO of Amazon. Be it our retail or our cloud business, our technology business, partnerships are part of our DNA. They are absolutely core, and there is no exception within our leadership team all the way up to our most senior leaders on the importance of continuously getting better and better at how we work together and how we scale with partners. If you think about the monumental growth that Amazon and AWS have achieved, it is simply not possible, nor do we want to go it alone, right? So these mechanisms, these processes, these programs, the way that we engage together and the way that we support customers together is absolutely core to who we are. And I can tell you, one of the reasons that I'm so excited to lead the organizations that I have the privilege to work with today is there is such an incredible commitment to doing more with partners. We want partners more active in our business. We want partners to continuously grow their own businesses aligned with us. And at the end of the day, if you think about the way that we measure how active our partners are in our overall business, we are not satisfied. We want to see higher and higher levels of growth within our partner community as a percentage of the overall AWS business. That's what inspires me to do the work that I do. It inspires my team as well. So we're really, really excited about that, and I think it's important to set the context for our discussion today just to share with you that is a ubiquitous thought process. That is our mental model, and we want to continuously get better at it. So that's what we're going to try to do today, is try to share some ways that we can do more together over time. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the growth and the maturation of our partner programs and the business that we collectively, right, have driven and have achieved quite monumental growth, as I said earlier. So when you think back to the first reInvent in 2012, APN was in its beta. So the AWS Partner Network, that program, our first launch of our partner business was in beta. 8,000 partners joined our ecosystem that first year. So you think about the excitement of opening up our business from being primarily or exclusively direct to having a program, to having the opportunity for systems integrated partners to join us, build a business, and scale with us. It was a really exciting time for us. We also launched our first managed service provider program in that same time period, and also we created the marketplace, right? So really exciting time for us, and you think about in context to today. Now, the number on the slide in a minute is gonna say 200 plus services. Obviously, there's a whole lot more coming this week, and we are still embargoed, so I can't tell you what the new number is, but it is bigger than that number. So incredible growth in the diversity and capability of our platform, and we have our partners to thank for helping us achieve that. So an exciting beginning to our effort. You look over the next couple of years, right? The business grows to $12 billion. We continue to expand to support our public sector customers and partners by launching the programs and resources to ensure that we can meet those unique segment and customer requirements. So a really important evolution for us. We launched the Partner Solution Finder. So trying to make it easier for our partners to present to our customer base and, quite honestly, to the AWS internal teams, the solutions, innovations, and value propositions that you have. We want partners to be able to consume that information. We want customers to be able to consume that information. We want our own internal teams to be able to consume that information to understand what our systems integrated partners are doing and how they're delivering value to our customers. A relationship that I have the opportunity to be part of today is our VMware relationship. So that was the point in time where VMware announced that they were going to move their entire infrastructure stack, make it available on AWS. So a really transformational point in the history of some of our strategic alliances business. Really exciting to see those types of applications and workloads being modernized and made available to customers on the AWS platform. So we love that, and that was really the first one. That was a really, really exciting opportunity and time for us in our evolution. Now you move towards 2017 to 2018, the business more than doubles. We're over $25 billion. The quantity and quality of our SI ecosystem continues to expand and improve. I don't have an exact number for how many partners in the program at that time, but I'm pretty sure it was a big number. We continued to launch programs for our partners to leverage from a technical and architecture perspective. So the Well-Architected program, which is something we still work tirelessly at today, was launched in that time period. We also shifted and created additional opportunity from a resale perspective. So that's when our solution provider partnership program was launched, something that I spend an awful lot of time and my team does today. The growth in that business, it's one of our highest growth rate businesses within our partner community. It creates a full, well-rounded, I guess, opportunity for consulting partners who want to be in the resale business and add that as a strategic value proposition in the way that they support customers. So you'll see lots of partners, and I think Brooks will touch on this a little bit later. They have a consulting practice. They can do those types of transformational engagements. They also have managed service capabilities for customers that look for those value propositions, and they also have the ability to provide resale support to customers. So really a full, well-rounded opportunity for partners and customers at that point. We also launched ACE, the AWS Customer Engagement Program. This was a critical mechanism for us, right? We needed to formalize and deploy a capability where we could bidirectionally collaborate on customer opportunities together. And so that's when ACE was launched. It really is the foundation to how we communicate, how we prioritize, how you ask us to support you. You can ask for technical support, you can ask for pricing support, you can ask for any types of, you can ask for programmatic support, we can do funding, all the different things that are available to you as partners in support of our joint customers. ACE is the foundation for how we communicate and organize our work together supporting customer opportunities. So we'll touch a little bit more on that later on in the slide. Now we're getting into more recent times. The business goes to $45 billion in 2020. In order to achieve scale, right, ACE was a very manual process in its first instantiation. We launched the ability to do CRM integration with partners so that you can integrate those capabilities right into the ACE portal through your CRM. So we do a lot of that work today. It's really allowed us for some of our larger and more scaled out partners to more seamlessly exchange those opportunities, collaborate and partner in support of customers. Another big initiative over the last year or two has been MAP 2.0. So our migration acceleration program has been incredibly successful. It is the cornerstone of how we engage and support and fund customer transformations onto the AWS cloud. We took that program and scaled it in a different manner for SMB level opportunities. I'm also a big fan of these other workloads. I spend a lot of time on SAP, our Windows on AWS business. So having specialized funding available for those specific workloads that have some unique requirements, characteristics, and funding in order to help customers make those modernization and transformational decisions. Those programs and the funding that's available to them are really, really core to how a partner can provide a great customer experience. So something I really hope everyone has familiarity with, and if not, it should be a priority for you. The ISV partner path, opening up the ISV partner path to our SI partners who have, created offerings, who have technology in conjunction with their consulting or other practices within their business. So we removed the line between ISV and SI so that our SI partners that have those additional offerings and capabilities could be recognized within the program, get the support required in order to more seamlessly engage customers in the AWS organization. And now, as we exit 2021 here in the next handful of weeks, I mentioned earlier, over 200 services. I can tell you that number is outdated. You'll see over the course of the week. We continue to announce new programs. We continue to focus on partner profitability and ensuring that we're creating an environment from a partner support perspective, quite honestly, that allows you to prioritize, to invest, and to develop the practices in support of your customers. So I think you'll see throughout the week, and I have a slide towards the end of the day that lists some critical sessions where you can dive deeper into the different programmatic announcements throughout the week, learn more about funding, learn more about certification opportunities and things like that. So there's an awful lot coming. This is a very, very big week for us to share information with you. And then, we'll continue to see the momentum. As you can see in the slide, we have hundreds of partners that sign up every day. We worked very, very hard to create the right ability for partners to interact with us. And I'll touch on the partner portal or Partner Central and some of the other opportunities there are for you to access and kind of reach out to us and select the information that's most important to you so that you can have a great experience when working with us. So, we acknowledge that co-selling is a little bit peculiar, right? We say that a lot at AWS, right? And at Amazon, that we have a peculiar culture, we have a peculiar way of doing things. I said earlier, this is Amanda's car, actually. So she lives over in the UK, so I think it works well for getting around the city. But it is peculiar. We are unique. I have a history in the partner business for going over quite a number of years, and it is a little bit different here. And one of the things that we want to do today is I want to take you through some best practices to share with you some perspective, some very realistic perspective on what works, how to engage with us, and how to drive a successful outcome for your business while understanding that it's not quite the same as some of the more traditional partners that you may have worked with. So it's important to us to be able to share some of these best practices with you. So the first one is being customer obsessed. So this is something that is core. It permeates everything that we do. Our sales organization is customer obsessed, which means to us they're going to provide options and opportunities to their customers, and they're going to leave the decision-making process largely to the customer. So we encourage partners to think and communicate with us in the same way. So work backwards from the customer's challenge or opportunity and present to us and to your customer the solution, the value proposition, the differentiation that your organization can bring to that opportunity. That is how you'll be best received by our organization and also by our customers. So being customer obsessed is first and foremost, and we really, really appreciate our partners when they adopt that mental model and when they share their information towards us, that it's articulated in that way. It really helps us. It helps us move forward more quickly and understand how best to work with you. Build and maintain your company's brand, and this is internal and external, but for AWS, we really need you to help educate us. We need you to build your brand. It's a continuous process, and you'll hear more from Brooks in the discussion later today, but I consider this really a continuous effort on the part of our most successful systems integrators. They know how to communicate with us. They know how to articulate their value propositions, their differentiation, and they're also really good at earning trust by sharing with us in a specific customer engagement or in a specific discussion where they don't possess strength, right? We respect that, we appreciate that, and that earns trust within our organization. So you really have to focus on this. You have to focus on how you communicate with us and how you articulate your value so that we can earn trust as two organizations working together in support of a customer. The next piece is the interlock with sales, and we're going to touch on this a little bit more depth later on in the slide. But obviously, how you partner with our sales organization is really, really important. We are continuously investing in the partner sales function. It is really, really important to us. Our sales organization is maniacally responsive to ACE registrations. When a quality registration comes to them regarding one of their customers, and it articulates the customer opportunity, it articulates the differentiation the partner provides, it articulates how we can best engage with the customer, what level we're at, what the opportunity size and scope looks like. That inspires our organizations to act. So the interlock with sales, like we talked about a little bit earlier, and we'll touch on in a later slide, is a really important aspect to our engagement, and I'll demystify that hopefully in one of the coming slides. The network is another really important aspect to our relationship. So whether you are building relationships within our ProServe team, whether you're partnering with a solution provider partner to do resell because you're more of a consultative organization, how you build out different relationships, right? We spend a lot of time, we've put a lot of energy into ensuring that our ISV partners and our SI partners can do great work together in support of customers. So building an extensive network of organizations, people, and practice leaders within AWS and other partnerships, we see that format, we see that, that structure working for a lot of partners. We see partners that are spending a significant amount of time building and establishing a network of value that they can bring to bear for their customers. Our organizations are extremely responsive to that. They love seeing it. They love engaging with organizations that are involved in that level of network build. So that's another really important aspect to think about when you're choosing which decisions to make and where to prioritize your time, because we certainly understand that time and investment is limited. You have to spend most of your time, you need to spend most of your time with your customers, but there's also kind of the secret sauce around it is how you build and explain and express the value that you're creating across your network. So another really important aspect. Specialization is becoming more and more important. It's important in your world, it's important in ours. Educating us on where you have built specialization, be it horizontal, vertical, industry, or geographic, is really, really important. I spend a significant amount of time with you as our partners, and one of the things that I look for is to really understand where you have those strengths, what it is that you're focused on, what it is that you believe is the most differentiated value proposition or emphasis you want to be able to provide, so that myself and my team can help map that into AWS so that we can connect you with the right teams, organizations, and strategies within our business to help you be successful and drive those scaled outcomes for customers. So a really important thing for us to be educated on and understand in our partnership. And then share success. Nothing is more important to our teams and to our customers, quite honestly, than understanding where you have done great work in the past, where you have achieved success, where customers are willing to speak on your behalf and basically demonstrate to us. That inspires us, it inspires our organizations, it inspires our customers, quite honestly, when they can see those demonstrated examples of success that they can then capitalize on within their business. So always share the success stories. Okay. So now I'm going to take a minute and play a video for you from one of our partners at Slalom. It's a great example of a really successful organization that has built a fantastic blueprint with AWS and with our joint customers.
Hi, I'm Dave Cutler. I help lead our AWS business at Slalom Consulting. We've been working with AWS for over 12 years, actually since before there was even a formal partner program. And over that time, it's become our most impactful and largest partnership that we have across the organization. As I think back at what's created that success, it really comes down to three key things. Number one is a shared customer focus. We both put the customer first, and that helps resolve a lot of potential challenges that come along as we're working with customers. Number two is we were really clear early on what our superpowers are. And that was important, to be clear to ourselves, to be clear to AWS, and to be clear to our customers on what we really can do well and can commit to, and on the opposite side, what we don't do. So it's clear where we can really step in and have a huge impact for our customers. And number three is transparency. It's difficult sometimes to have a level of transparency in a partnership. You feel like you're losing a bit of control. But we found being overly transparent, overly communicative is hugely successful to helping our customers. And if we do that together, the customer will win and we will all be successful as well. When you put all three of those together, customer focus, a focus on your superpowers, and transparency, it really comes down to a common thread of trust. And that's what a great partnership's all about. How do you build trust? How do you maintain that trust? And how do you bring that trust together to support your customer? Is it easy? Not always. But is it worth it? In our experience, definitely yes. Thank you.
So I love Dave's points there. The first thing he talked about was being customer obsessed and communicating in that language, right? Really, really important, earns trust with us. When you think about how you build the flywheel, right? That repeatable impact and effect that you have, the reputation, the trust, the demonstrated customer obsession has been really, really important to the Slalom business. And then the last piece he said was transparency, right? Which again, I alluded to a little bit earlier. Share with us what works for you and also share with us what doesn't, right? We were having a little chat this morning, myself, Amanda, and Brooks, and we're kind of laughing at some of the transparent conversations that happen. They can be uncomfortable in the beginning, but we root things out, right? We talk things out, we solve problems. We appreciate that, and we build very impactful relationships through that process. So appreciate Dave taking the time to share that with us. The next piece I'm going to spend a few minutes on is when you talk about engaging with AWS, there's a lot of us. We understand that we are at a size and a scale that can be a little bit overwhelming. Quite honestly, I've been here about 18 months. A few of these acronyms I didn't know until more recently than not. So there are a lot of layers. Here's the positive, though. The positive is we continue to engage in an outsized manner in the resources, the programs, and the funding to support our partner ecosystem. So that is what we are doing. Many in the industry are not doing that. Many are pulling back in these areas and focusing their investment in other areas. We are investing continuously. We are growing continuously, whether it's the partner sales, partner success organization that sits within our geographies, our verticals and segments, providing a touch point for you to interact with, right? That's the PSM function right in the middle. The PDMs, the partner development managers that sit within my organization, my counterpart, Chris Niederman, the GSI team, and my other counterpart, Ryan Broadwell, and the ISV team, continuously engaging and scaling out those partner development resources, who are the ones who help focus on building plans with partners, building practices, building go-to-market strategies and structures. Really, really important. Those investments, we continue to scale those teams in order to provide a better experience to more partners over time. So we're excited to see those investments continue, but we also acknowledge that there's a bit of effort required here to navigate all of this. And so we're going to talk in a second about kind of the core team, the most common team members that you'll run into, that you'll spend time with, and what their roles and responsibilities are. Hopefully it's helpful to you to kind of see it written down and see how we look at the model and we look at these different roles. But again, we understand that there's a lot of folks to interact with. It's a positive, but there is work involved. So we acknowledge that, and we hope that this helps you map through some of the complexities. So it starts with the PDMs. Now, the fact that I manage the PDM organization doesn't come into bearing here, but it does start with the PDMs. So the PDMs help you build your business. They help you with your business plan. They help you prioritize investments. They help determine what practices we're going to build, right? They manage the interaction across AWS for you. So the PDM is the foundation of our partner business, and we start there, and then we begin to scale out. Next is the PSA. So there's a picture of Amit, one of my leadership team members here. So the PSA organization, that is the technical side of partner development. So they are responsible for the strategy. They are responsible for driving the adoption of AWS services into the partner practice build methodology. They are the technical resources to help you to drive enablement, to help in any way, shape, or form that's important to you to understand how best to prioritize your investment in certification, in competency, right? All the different aspects of building out AWS practices and relationships. From a technical perspective, the PSA organization is the quarterback there. Next is the partner success team. The partner success team sits within our sales organization, but is completely aligned to the successful execution of customer opportunities with our partners. So that is their sole and exclusive responsibility, is as you create opportunity or as AWS shares opportunity with you, the partner success organization is the bridge. They help interact with customers, they help interact and align you to the field sales organizations. They're the ones who, at the point of customer engagement, you really want to ensure that they understand the value proposition we talked about earlier, the ACE submissions, things like that, managing that process so that they get a really, really clear view of why you as a partner provide the best opportunity to help this customer be successful in this specific engagement or use case. Really, really critical resources, and we're scaling those resources in an outsized manner right now to ensure that there's more and more of these people available to you to help manage opportunities and build the bridges between our partners and our field sales organizations. And then finally, the account manager. Obviously, they're the quarterback for our customer account. We talked about their customer obsession. They're also becoming more and more partner obsessed. We love that. They're the ones who will help us select and drive some of the funding vehicles, things like MAP, other investments that we'll make in support of a customer's transformation, and they will help align that decision-making process with you in support of your execution within that customer. So those are really the most common resources that you'll meet with. There are others. There are ProServe resources that sit within our ProServe team that focus on engagement with partners. There are partner marketing resources that will help you with the go-to-market side of things. But between the PDM and the PSMs, we can really kind of manage a lot of that and quarterback a lot of that interaction, depending on your requirements and where you want to head as a business and as a partner. Okay, so at this point, we're going to transition to our fireside chat. So I'd like to welcome Amanda Slight, again, the UK SMB sales lead, and Brooks Borcherding, who is the CEO of CloudReach. So come on up, guys.
Thanks very much, Chris. So hi, everybody. It's so fabulous to kind of see you. I'm super excited to be here, and thanks so much for having me again today, Chris. So why am I here introducing this fabulous panel? So I have been very fortunate enough to work at AWS for nearly 3 years. I can't believe it. It's gone like this. And actually, I joined in the partner organization. So I had the privilege of actually working for Chris. And I'm still here, so it went okay. And I'm so delighted that I have the opportunity to actually represent the field. So after 2 years in the partner organization, I've transitioned into the customer segment, and I actually look after our small and medium customers in the UK. And partners are super important for us as we think about that. And we're going to take this session to talk a little bit about how we engage with partners and share some best practices for somebody who's been there and done that. So welcome, Brooks, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
So, I want to just take a moment, if I may, to ask you a little bit about CloudReach. Some of the folks in the audience may not know much about your business. Could you just take a few minutes to take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So CloudReach, we've been in the space since 2009. Started out of the UK as one of the original AWS kind of services partners. So back, I think there's a reference from Slom as well, back before there was even a partner program.
Yep.
The founders had the idea of, hey, we could wrap some services around the platform itself and create a business model, and kind of found that success early on. And since 2009, we've really been building out, focused continually around platform innovation. So think of us as a cloud-native professional services firm. So we've always led with services as a beginning, and the other things we'll talk about, we ended up putting on as adjacent services to that. But so continuing to focus on cloud-native services, looking at complex implementations, We take an approach, that we bring value by exposing the platform capabilities
Yeah.
to customers. And we have kind of a tagline that's called delivering the value of cloud, right? So we think that's an interesting way to think through, from a customer engagement. Is it's really about the value they get, not just getting to the cloud as a destination, but actually being able to leverage the platform capabilities themselves to drive true kind of value for their business.
Yeah, it's a lot more than lift and shift, which is a beautiful thing.
So we're still now, we call ourselves boutique at scale. We're about 700 cloud reachers. We're focused in UK, Germany, France, and East Coast North America primarily as the geographic regions. That's kind of by intent because we find the focus is certainly something that helps us in regards to building out scale for our business. And really an amazing kind of opportunity here. Let me say, tell you why I'm here. We haven't actually rehearsed this. So I will rarely kind of say yes to speaking on stage, but in this case, it was just, I really want to come and say thank you for you.
Oh, thank
So, I mean, all the work AWS has done to help us build a great business, all the work that you've done to offer everyone here the opportunity to build really interesting and innovative businesses and take advantage of a really unique point in time has been, amazing. And I just want to make sure we could say thank you for that. So.
Thank you so much, Brooks. I think what's really exciting about AWS, and I've worked for many vendors over the years, is this is a company that really believes in partner and how to scale with partners. And it's so exciting for me being in this role that we can leverage the power of partners to really engage our customers and to help our partners be successful on that journey, which is really fabulous. Now, my next question is always an interesting one. So as we think about your business, you are a multi-cloud vendor, and that's always a little tricky, and people sometimes don't know how to address that and build, and trust with the field because, gosh, you do sell some other stuff, occasionally. So how do you think about positioning that when you're engaging with the AWS sales team, and how do we stack up as you think about your offerings and go-to-market?
It's funny, when I met Andy when I first joined a couple years ago, that was his very first, it wasn't a question, it was a point. He goes, you recognize my partners that are committed to AWS are going faster than the ones that are multi-cloud. Yeah. I said, yes, Andy, point taken. But in the customer segments we serve, it really has a lot to do with the market maturity. Yeah. So maybe back in 2009, you could go just on one platform and build a successful business. I think now that the platforms have evolved and the market's evolved and customers have matured in their view of how they can leverage the cloud, they are ultimately ending up in multi-cloud environments for one reason or another. It might be through M&A, it might be because it's the right decision for certain workloads. So there's various reasons why they end up ultimately in many clouds. And I find to have the credibility when we sit with customers to represent the broad solution, you really have to be able to speak more broadly than just on one platform. That being said, I think you still recognize the fact that we're heavily engaged with AWS, and I think one of the reasons for that is what you put behind the slides, and you actually deliver on them, right? So there's an authenticity, like in a sincerity there that comes behind that, yeah. And you actually feel that in the motion that's in the field. And so when it comes to us as a services partner, that really does mean a lot. And to see that come through, it's always we have confidence you're going to deliver upon the statements that are being made. It makes a huge difference in our ability to then build and invest in our capabilities and resources and in delivery competencies behind that. Because otherwise, we take risk on our own. It's much better to be able to take informed risks, around the investments that we make. So.
Yeah, I think personally I found it really valuable that you have those resources, because where I've really engaged very successfully with you is actually moving a lot of those old legacy workloads off an on-premise environment and into the cloud. And because you have that experience, you can bring such credibility to the customer environment. Yeah. So I found it a really useful selling point in talking to my customers, so thank you.
And the other point is for you, it's the investment that you make is significant. I think you made the point, Chris, in the slides, but you feel the significance of the investment. Now, sometimes it can be overwhelming. I had to turn to her when you were presenting and say, I don't know what those roles are. Can we talk about that? Is that a field role versus a partner role? And so, I mean, yes, it can be quite complicated, but that also goes to the point that we make kind of a considerable investment in dedicated teams to align with that organization so we can capitalize on the investment ourselves. So.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about building practices there. Can you just share with the audience, who I'm sure are thinking, well, I'd like to grow my AWS practice, or I'm in the process of doing that. Can you talk about how you've approached that and share some good practices when thinking about building an AWS practice in an organization today?
It's probably, it takes a dedication commitment, so you have to be willing to kind of, lean in and get into the way of working of AWS. Maybe that's the right way to put it. It's like if you insist on having your own kind of methodologies, your own approach, I think we'll find that you run into many times into headwinds with AWS. If you can adopt into the best practices that are held by AWS and into the field sales motions and into the partner engagement model, it's super important.
Yeah.
Right? And the times we've tried to go outside that and do something that we think is right or innovative or whatever, we'll find that we just have trouble getting the embrace of AWS ultimately for the execution of that. So that's one thing I would say is like just align with the AWS way of working in that regard. The PSM is super important. Yeah. And I've come out of extensive kind of partner ecosystems with Cisco and others in the back, and I still had to take time to understand the different kind of mechanics. But the PSM does end up being your quarterback ultimately for the team. And our PSM, Michael Agatar, if he's out there, does amazing representation for us. And he really does, wear our brand on his sleeve every time. He's a super strong advocate for us.
He wears me out at times, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chris, from the UK, right? I often wake up to a chime message from Michael. Would you please approve this, or please sign this, or please agree to this? So he's a great advocate for your business, that's for sure.
And I think that point you made on the slide earlier is so important for any of you out there as partners. Make sure that you're working closely either with your partner development manager or your partner development representative to be really clear on the superpowers that you heard about from Slalom. And what we mean by that is be super clear on what it is you do, what vertical you serve, what horizontal, and what offering you're taking to market. Because that really helps us to understand where you want to engage and where you want to be successful. But also, as you said earlier, to be clear where you don't want to engage. It's fine to say no, thank you, because we want to engage you where you're going to be super successful. So I think that's really important to be clear on. And so, Brooks, as you've talked about building your organization, one of the things that our customers tell us and all of our partners tell us is skills. I need more skills, I need more people. It's a real challenge that we face globally. So how have you addressed that to really build your business at scale?
It's a fairly multifaceted response. One is we do have kind of a great talent team, right? So we make an investment in a team that is great at identifying, talent, nurturing talent, and developing talent ourselves. And so we do a lot of that with our own kind of investment in a resource to do that. It is good to have a brand, to Chris's point. Mm-hmm. So in the market, it's good to have a brand and a commitment to the development of the people to be able to have them immersed in the emerging platform capabilities, to roll up their sleeves, to be kind of leading edge, to do interesting work. Just having that brand in place really helps, and to be able to engage in that type of work really helps. And then that's just kind of normal course of business. And what we've done recently, with the obvious issue we all have now with talent in the market, we launched our own talent academy a few weeks back. We had our first cohort come in to the UK for this, so we have 20 people going through a whole kind of career development approach with the intent to have them from scratch build the AWS critical competencies to be able to be part of a team in 3 or 6 months in the field but we commit to like a 2-year development program for them. So when they come out of that for 2 years, they are a core engineer, which is very valuable. And these, we made a specific point to also kind of go to underrepresented communities, because everybody knows we have imbalances within technology overall. But we found that to be a great way to find incredibly kind of motivated and talented people who wanted to come into tech, but were never given the opportunity because they didn't have either the educational background or they didn't have the experience already to be able to come in. So we looked at aptitude, desire, and the first cohort was just an amazing group of people. I think it was just so uplifting to see the enthusiasm and energy there. And so we're going to be doing cohorts now in the U.S., in continental Europe, and in Pune, India, shortly. So we expect to be able to bring in hundreds of people ourselves into the ecosystem. So I don't know. I think that's the only way to solve this more broadly is kind of a commitment to saying we need to continue to nurture more talent.
Yeah.
Because we can't just keep going after each other's talent, right? So and you guys have to stop recruiting my people. That's another matter. But there's just these things that, where we trade people back and forth, but that's not solving the underlying issue, which is there's more customer demand than we have the ability to deliver right now.
Yeah. And my key takeaway there is we have to start off with skills. And Chris, you talked about the solution finder earlier. It's so key for all of you to make sure that you are on the solution finder, that your offerings and solutions are easy to consume, and that is up to date. I can't tell you how important that is from an account manager perspective. When I have a customer that has a Oracle migration or an old SQL database they want to unlock, that is where my sellers go to look for the right partner. So I really want to encourage all of you to make sure that you're on the solution finder and that your offerings are up to date. The other thing that's really important is, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is competencies. I love the competencies from this company. It really helps our customers to understand where you are, and you guys have done a great job of that. So as I look at the partners that we want to work with, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, we want to go more vertical. So when we're dealing with customers who are in retail, we want to know who are those partners that have those specializations. If you have a security offering for financial services, we want to know about it. So please make sure that you're applying for the competencies that are relevant to your business, that you are sharing those case studies, because that is such a powerful story to share with customers and to leverage with you. And you've done a great job of that. And I know Holly Norman, who's in the audience today, your marketing lead, has done a superb job of doing that. Can you talk a little bit about how you've really thought about your brand and talking to your customers about sharing best practice?
Yeah, that is definitely credit goes to my team. Eric's here as well. He runs our global AWS business, and several of the folks who we have invested in the team. Yeah. They do an amazing job just making sure that we're bringing those opportunities to our team. Our engineers want to have broad and deep skills and capabilities. They like the fact they can develop their professional capabilities, with us and enrich themselves kind of over time with those various skills. So bringing that together. It's just a commitment. It helps both ways. It helps us now have competencies that we can present to our customers, and it also helps us from a talent development and acquisition perspective as well. We have done a nice job. I think we have 12 competencies now, if I include the new energy competency, and I think including the new modernization competency. So that's a really credit to the team and the work they've done at our customers like BP and EDF and others that give us kind of that insight.
Yeah. And I have to say, I was privileged enough to go to the Academy launch in London just a few weeks ago, and it was fantastic to see, Chris. There were 20 individuals, as you mentioned, Brooks, and I thought what was so interesting is it was not the usual group of people that I see when I walk into an IT department. It was such a diverse mixture of people from such different backgrounds, and I'd really encourage each and everyone to think about how you can go and grow talented and diverse skills, because it represents our customers, and as you say, we've got to stop hiring each other's staff. It just makes us more expensive. Yeah. It doesn't scale us or grow the ecosystem. Absolutely. So I really loved that. I thought it was really, really sublime. The next thing I just want to ask you about is a question I get asked with a lot of new partners. So we understand the APN, we understand ACE, that's great. We've got a competency. How are we going to make any money doing this? So can you talk a little bit about the monetization opportunity for partners in this room today?
Bring me back to that after my first answer. So we talked about superpowers a little bit already. I do think an element of focus is important just from a partner to be successful. So going too broad, it does lose its authenticity with your seller and your seller community, right? When you just represent yourself too broad. If you can go in, and that's one of the reasons we pick specific geographies, is we like to have an investment, so we have a density, critical mass in those geographies where we can align properly just from a field engagement with AWS. Because it's too hard to have somebody on an island of one, trying to cover, a broad market, for example, because they just won't get the traction. That's what we found. So focus in regards to resourcing, focus in regards to competencies and skills as well.
Yep.
So we have over, I think, 400 certs now, maybe more. It was maybe 500 at this point with the build. But you need to be able to build those up to have credibility for your delivery competency. Because if you don't, the sellers will turn right pretty quickly. If you state one thing and you aren't able to deliver, it'll turn.
And the bar is quite high intentionally, right?
Yeah.
Achieving a competency is not easy to do.
Yeah.
The certifications, they take time out of the field. They take time away from building customer engagement. So with all of that said, it's also how you inspire confidence with us and with customers. So you guys have done an unbelievable job there.
And what we do in regards to our superpower is we have wrapped software and kind of IP together with our services to be able to, we think, differentiate then value in our delivery to a customer. That took a lot of work, obviously. It's not overnight where you can create your own software and IP, but I think the R&D team we have has been great at kind of aligning the software with what's required to actually deliver on the value of the underlying platform capability itself. So it's everything from kind of Cloudomize, doing the assessment, which is available to everyone, of course, but that's our software. But being able to bring that to a customer, be able to kind of understand their existing environments, but also not just recommend like the destination, but to be able to recommend efficiencies in that and tuning and optimization for that as well is great. And then the automations that come through that, through the whole ecosystem to Cloud and Door, and just automatically going through transport tools to accelerate the time to market. That's part of this, this rationale behind our Zero to Cloud in 50-day, program we put out there, is we package that up with software and automation to be able to actually execute that on a very repeatable way. And that's proving to be really well embraced by the teams in the field because of, the simplicity of that. I'd say the other thing is managing the programs, right?
Yes.
So you've got to be really good at understanding, the programs are very compelling. And I didn't really answer this in the response of multi-cloud, but I probably should have. Things like OLA and MAP bring great value to a customer. They're well defined, they're well executed, and they're well supported, right? So those programs are beneficial to customers, to partners, to your sellers, right? And whoever continues to kind of manage those programs does an amazing job from that perspective. It really does help AWS stand out from the other hyperscalers.
Yeah, I think that the programs are key to partner success because they really help our customers to really accelerate their journey and to fund it. And I think that's really exciting. This is a way to really help your customers move those workloads, move their vision of their business to the cloud faster than potentially they could have on their own. And it's a very rich and well managed program. And certainly we've really leveraged it extensively with you. So if you haven't spent time looking at the programs, really, I think that's a huge investment opportunity for you.
And that comes all full circle to the making money, the profitability piece. The programs do play a really important part of that. So understanding the programs, because there's a lot of investment there from AWS to leverage. And the other, I would say, is we've obviously moved out beyond just professional services now. So not to contradict myself and not going too broad, but we've been able to now, as we go through these engagements with customers, we do have the competency to attach resale, right? We don't lead with resale, but if we have the opportunity to have a first engagement with a customer, we'll certainly attach resale. And attaching resale is a very high margin, net margin product, right? But for us, we only really care about net, not necessarily gross. Gross would kill you on your overall margin, but from a net basis, it's very kind of rich from a cash flow perspective. It can help them with your overall engagement, profitability perspective. And then we do have the MSP, so we have a managed services capability as well. So we're able to, as we migrate workloads, just continue to manage them for a customer.
Yep.
We kind of commit to doing that, not for infinity. We kind of tell them, look, we'll help coach you then on how to manage. If you want to make that investment in managing, cloud destinations, you can do that, or you can leave it with us, or in a transitory period, we'll manage it for you, and then we'll help bring you up to speed with how to manage those as well. So building out some of the recurring base of revenue is certainly helpful.
Yeah.
Instead of having to just have a professional services re-engagement every quarter with a new nut to chase and the.
But I think the other thing that I think you've done really well, Brooks, is you have, and you mentioned it just then, repeatable solutions. And I think that's really important. If you have something that you can repeat in multiple customers, that's a very powerful way to build up a model that you can then replicate across the country or globally if you have that opportunity as a business. But I think what's really important, and you mentioned it subtly there, but I want to be less than subtle, is one of the things that I like about your business is that you lead with some superpowers, but you have a much broader portfolio. And I think that's really interesting because you can't come in and say, we sell everything to everybody. It makes it hard to consume. But if you can be really specific about those superpowers, which you are, but you can then open the portfolio and offer many more solutions to the customer. And that's certainly very powerful. So thank you for that.
We're also open to partnering in the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So we don't find that with all of the other service providers that are out there, but from our perspective, it's just about doing interesting work and if there's opportunities where I need a capability which I don't have.
Yeah.
Let's say it's like an ML AI, more data science capability. We might stop at more of the data analytics and engineering side.
Yep.
To be able to partner with somebody that has that, I think there's a better experience for the customer. And we just brought in a partner for a very large engagement, for example, in the bid response, because we just understood for us to win, it'd be better if we aligned with people that have the depth of skills that we might be only going so deep on in that response. And we do that often, even with you and your team. We'll often just look at a win-win with other partners. So.
Yeah, partnering is so key. And you mentioned that, really making sure that you understand your network.
Build your network.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks,
Right.
guys. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for making the trip.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
After you.
Please.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly. So thanks, Brooks and Amanda, for that discussion. Exciting times, right? The opportunity, the growth, the customer pull, right, is a really exciting thing for us to be able to focus on supporting. So we've touched on a lot of these topics today, but I really wanted to call it out, right? APN Partner Central, right? That's the hub. All of our programmatic things, the certifications, enablement, competencies, everything that you could be interested in can be accessed through Partner Central, right? And I want to highlight, again, the funding programs, the training, the certifications and competencies. That's how we evaluate. That's how you position yourselves and demonstrate your commitment and the value that you're driving for our joint customers. So it's really, really important for everyone to spend the time it takes to internalize these things and then prioritize your time, your investment with the help of my team or one of my counterparts' teams that can help you organize the way that you navigate AWS. Brooks said something interesting, right? And it's aligning to the way we work. That's a decision for you all, right? To determine how comfortable you are with organizing your business and your opportunity and your approach to the way that AWS works. And because we do things a little bit differently, I think there's an outsized return potential for you when you make that decision and you really refine how you're going to engage and spend the time and energy it takes to do all of these things. So we appreciate that. And finally, just from a call to action perspective, we talked about sharing customer stories, so ensuring that we understand where you're successful and where you've driven value for customers. Marketing your brand, we've touched on that a number of times, and I can tell you that our organizations all respond to that. They respond to understanding that. They want to support you. They want to see you grow. They want to see you engage and support customers. So the more clear we are on your brand within AWS, the more we can help. Registering opportunities, talked about that. That really inspires support from the field, right? Amanda leads one of those organizations. I think she loves ACE as much as anyone. So just having that bi-directional capability to communicate, that we can track our exchanges together, we can track our opportunities together, and we can get better and better at how we collaborate. Really important to be at the center of this. And then the ProServe piece, right? There's a lot of opportunity to learn and work alongside our ProServe organization. One of the executives on my team, Tara, if you stand up, Tara Palmieri leads that initiative for my organization worldwide. You can grab her afterwards if you have specific questions. But again, as far as expanding your network, expanding your opportunity, and understanding how to work with AWS, it's a great topic and a really important thing to understand. You know, building those field battle cards so that you have a succinct manner in which you communicate, articulate, and demonstrate value, really, really important. And then the last piece is externally market those successes as well, right? Customers respond to it. Our organization is here to help you do that. We have marketing resources. We have MDF funding. There are different ways that we can work together to create external messaging, external collateral, external awareness for the value that you provide our customers. So we want to be really good at that together. And then just, I mentioned this earlier, but here's a few sessions that I would recommend that you take a look at over the next couple of days, understanding you can't be everywhere throughout the week. A lot of these sessions, you can, all of them, you can actually watch when you get home, later on in the week, or over coffee one of these days. But really, take a look at these different sessions, right? A lot of the things we talked about today, these are the deep dives. Amanda told me I would not be welcome in the UK if I didn't provide specific emphasis to the SMB growth initiative, that specific segment there. Amanda required me to say that. So please take the time, continue to engage with us, continue to learn with us, and help you grow your businesses and support our joint customers. So again, thank you everybody for being here today. We have just 3 minutes left, so appreciate that. Myself, Amanda, and Brooks, and Tara will kind of move off to the side to let the organization prepare for the next session so we can answer a couple questions and say hello. But again, thank you very much for being here bright and early on a Monday morning. So enjoy the rest of the week.